Sharik? You're live. Oh, I'm live. That's good. That's
I'll be excited to hear
something we're always excited about here. So,
if we have any audio.
So this. Can you hear Sharik?
I can hear Sharik and I can hear you.
I can hear you. Can Sharik hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Let's go. All right. Then now we're both live. So this is Dr. Patrick Jones from the Homegrown Herbalist School of Botanical Medicine. And we're excited today. We're having a live webinar with a dear friend of mine.
I can hear you.
Good. And a brilliant fellow.
Yes, I get a bit of an echo.
I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So Sharik is a physical therapist down in Cache Valley. And he's also got a master's degree in counseling psychology. So he understands how brains work. And he has developed a remarkable tool. And the tool is called the Rezzimax Tuner. And I'm an herbalist, right? And I'm a naturopath. And I'm a veterinarian and a lot of other things. I don't know. Anyway, amateur belly dancer, a lot of things. Anyway, I sell herbs, right? And I like herbs and I use herbs. And I don't sell a lot of other stuff. But I met Sharik and I got introduced to this device and I was astounded at the utility of it and the efficacy and the development and the theory. And anyway, so we started using them a lot in our naturopath practice, my wife and I. And anyway, we just wanted to talk to Sharik a little bit and let him tell the story and tell us a little bit about this and answer all your questions. So, Sharik, tell us a little about yourself and how this came about and other fun things.
Sorry, there's a bit of a delay here on my end.
Yep.
Are you ready for me? Hi, everybody. This is Sharik Peck, and hopefully I don't talk over anybody, but I can't seem to listen to you guys on that end without getting a lot of echo, and I'd rather not do that. So I'm going to try lip reading tonight, and I hope I can do a good job of that. But type in questions if you have them into the chat, and then if I need to, I'll bring up my speakers in a few minutes, and we'll try and listen a little bit. Very anxious to speak to you today. I have loved a wonderful association since I've gotten to know Dr. Patrick Jones several years ago. It was a terribly windy, blowy, rainy day the day we met, and we were both happy to be inside and have a roof over our heads. But it was a wonderful opportunity to visit. I remember looking across the room and seeing you and thinking, oh my goodness, there's something about this guy that is very powerful, and I felt a close connection immediately. So we've had a good friendship ever since. And I've come on several herb walks, and I've come on several occasions to learn all that I can. I don't retain everything that I need to very well up in here, and that's probably a part of my own experiences that, I've had some brain injuries and some things in the past. Dr. Jones is finally working at my level. I have a little bit of brain surgery to get him to slow down just a little bit. But I'm very happy to be here today. I am the developer of the Rezzimax Pain Tuner Pro, this little cool device. It's really an energy management device. It's designed to help us have a talk with the vagus nerve. Now, that vagus nerve is the most important system in the body to try and help us heal. You know, its job is to help you sleep at night and help your heart to keep beating and help your breathing to keep happening. In fact, the vagus nerve would be very happy if all you did was sleep, eat, breathe, create beautiful little babies. And its job is to keep everything moving through the system. One of the posts recently that we had, let's get on phone call so you two can hear each other. That'd be wonderful. I'll do that. Let me put my phone back in. That'd help. What? Just let me know what number to call, or hang on just a second, because that will help an awful lot. Can I call Evan's number? Let's see.
Call Sharik on your phone so you two can hear.
It's over there. He's in the contacts list.
Sorry, everybody. Technical difficulties.
What's the phone doing?
Does this phone work for us to be able to talk and communicate through, Evan?
I can hear you okay. There's a little bit of a delay, probably.
All right. So, for starters, while we get a couple of these technical glitches out of the way, sorry for the misspelling of vagus nerve on there. Autocorrect always misspells vagus nerve. It thinks it ought to be in Las Vegas. And I spent 6 years of my life in Las Vegas, but that's the wrong kind of vagus nerve. But
well, it's sort of similar though. I mean, you're there to have a good time and relax, which is the principal purpose of the vagus nerve.
That is very, very true. That's very true. It's hard to do that in Las Vegas, especially if you've ever lived there.
Yeah.
So, would it be all right if we, now that I can hear you, would you like to ask any questions at all as we get started, or would you like me to play a little video clip that I prepared for you?
Go ahead and do that. And all of the questions will be typed.
Oh,
we're the only two that will be verbal. Yeah.
Oh,
so, folks, if you have any questions at all, type them on the chat box, and we'll answer them and see if we can get to everybody.
That sounds great. Evan, if it's all right, would you pull up our little video clip?
Ever wonder what's going on inside your head during a migraine?
Captain, trigeminal nerve is flaring up again. I think another blood vessel's about to blow. I don't think she can take much more of this, Captain. Have we tried going to her happy place?
Let's put a happy little cloud. Just a happy little cloud.
No offense, sir. Load headache medicine. Fire at will. Stomach reporting major damage, so we can't take any more damage down here, Captain. We just can't.
Caffeine, sir?
Make it so. Caffeine not strong enough. Acupuncture and daith piercings. No effect, Captain. Cold water.
Isn't it hot water for migraines?
We're making it worse. Prepare for toxic overload.
Oxycodone is not for everyone. Call your doctor if you have thoughts of suicide, rupture of the spleen, unpleasant discharge, coronavirus, coma, or death.
Wait, Captain, what's that? What is that thing? She got a Pain Tuner Pro.
Pain Tuner Pro.
She must have signed up for that 60-day risk-free trial.
60-day risk-free trial?
Yes. I saw her researching it online. This thing sounds like a miracle. Muscles at the back of the neck are starting to relax. It's working. Vagus nerve calming down. Trigeminal nerve returning to normal, Captain. I've never seen anything like this. How is this happening?
The Pain Tuner Pro uses a series of vibrational patterns combined with bilateral resonance therapy to relax muscles, stimulate blood flow, and calm nerves down naturally without expensive, addictive, damaging, and sometimes illegal drugs.
Isn't this just the latest fad?
No way! The Pain Tuner Pro's been developed over the past 10 years. It's been
been used by over 20,000 people. My data suggests it'll soothe your headache within minutes, or you can send it back with a 60-day risk-free trial. Blood flow returning, and I'm feeling relaxed. This thing's got 4.9 out of 5 stars on their reviews, with raving fans going nuts about how it's changed their lives, helped them get off medications, and live life pain-free. And with a 60-day risk-free trial, they'll beam one to your home and let you try it for 2 whole months. She's smiling. We're smiling. We're all smiling. Thank you, Pain Tuner Pro. So, what are you waiting for? You can feel the incredible transformation for yourself. Use it for 60 days, risk-free, with a guarantee it'll calm your headaches within minutes. Or simply send it back. Click below right now and get yours today. With this risk-free 60-day trial, there's nothing to lose but the pain. Come on, click now. Listen to what that little voice inside your head is telling you.
Well, there you go.
We have to sometimes poke fun at the way that we try and approach everything, don't we?
Yeah, I will. Well, I've never done anything like that. I'm a pretty sober guy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, this tuner, you know, there's a lot of apparatuses out there, that make a lot of claims. And a lot of it's just nonsense, and a lot of it might be true, but there's no data or research. But the Rezzimax Tuner Pro has research. I mean, scientists with lots of letters at the end of their names and white lab coats and everything have done research and published papers showing that this device is actually very effective for doing some of the things it says it does. So that's remarkable. That's a pretty significant accomplishment for an alternative medicine device. So tell us a little about that, Sharik.
Sure. We actually had some research published in the journal Oral Health, conducted down at Brigham Young University. That's a school here in Utah. And what the way that they did this study was kind of fun. Well, there are 3 components of the study, I guess. You see, the folks up there in Canada where this journal is published sent a note to me one day, and they said, how does your device work? We're starting to see and hear reports that this thing works. How does it work? And I went to BYU, who had just conducted a study on it, and said, "Can you write this thing up, because they'd like to describe it in their journal." And they actually did a full publication. It was quite fascinating. But in this research, we took a group of stressed out college females, and apparently that's not too hard to find on the Brigham Young campus down there. So they took all these stressed out college females, and they took our device and they put it on 3 points, just simply 3 points. These 3 points were the back of the neck, the suboccipital muscles, and they ran it for 1 minute. And then they took it and put it on the right in between the eyebrows, right at a point where the trigeminal nerve comes out there. It's called the supraorbital branch of the trigeminal nerve. They put it there for 1 minute, getting both sides of the brain. And then they stuck the device inside the mouth, out against these muscles that chew really hard. And they put it there for 1 minute on each place. And they found that even these super stressed out college females had a 50% reduction in tightness in these muscles right in here, which are great indicators of whether a person's going to have a migraine headache. It appears that stress and migraine headaches and all kinds of other conditions, they go hand in hand. And so what happens in that study, and of course they did a control group where they just placed the device on them for 3 minutes, And guess what? Those people, those girls had absolutely no change in the tension in their jaw muscles. And when we compared that to several other studies that came out of Japan and other places, we found that our tuner technology, the resonance that we created, is unparalleled for calming the central nervous system. Now, they also wanted to understand why. And so I wrote this really nice little article about why and how it happens. And the way it happens is the trigeminal nerve is an absolute opposite of the vagus nerve in the central nervous system. The vagus nerve wants to take you to Vegas, wants you to become happy and healthy and sleep and recover. And the trigeminal nerve, all it wants to do is make sure you're getting food into the system, but it's also a big part of the fight or flight stress response in the human. Anytime you're afraid that something's going to hit you, your jaw clamps down and your neck muscles clamp down, and it's part of that whole stress response. So what they showed there was it's unparalleled to calm down the central nervous system. What they didn't show there was how exactly it does that. And we're still not exactly sure. We just know that it does. It does calm down the central nervous system on almost everybody that little device touches.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to understand that the nervous system and the endocrine system, both, and they're buddies, they have that parasympathetic side, which is healing, resting, digesting, reproducing, all the nice things in your life. And then they have the sympathetic side, which is adrenaline, fight or flight, stress. And in this 21st century world we live in, we have all kinds of stresses that aren't really based on reality. In the good old days, the lion would chase us, and if he didn't catch us, we'd feel better, right? And nowadays we got traffic and deadlines and bosses and school board meetings and all these stressful things, and the body can't tell the difference between all that stuff and the lion. And we don't have the release of stopping running and breathing deeply and relaxing, so the body never gets told that the stress is gone. And so we get into this chronic hyperadrenal sympathetic fight or flight mode, and the vagus just gets stamped out. You can't do both. It's one or the other. So the vibration is remarkable for resetting that system, and turning off the sympathetic and turning on the parasympathetic. And I've had the same experience using tuning forks for acupuncture. You talked about the day we met at that big conference, and I had exactly the same experience. I looked across this big vendor hall, and I saw this guy, and I felt like I'd known him forever, and we got together and did some talking, and it was amazing, the connections and the things we were both working on and thinking about. And it's just, this tuner was really cool. And I'm going to tell you a story at that conference. So he's talked about one of the powerful effects of these vibrational therapies is decreasing stress, and not just emotional stress, but physical pain causing stress. But the other thing that it does is it can sort of reboot the nervous system. So I had a gal come up to me, a lady that I'd known for years, right? She came up to my herb booth at that same meeting, and she had a dead arm. And I hadn't seen her for months. I wasn't aware that this was going on. But she had this, for a long time, this terrible pain in her arm. And then one morning she woke up and she couldn't feel it at all. She had no motor control, and she couldn't feel it. And she wanted to know if I had an herb for that. And I thought, oh, that's I don't know if I do, but let's talk to this other guy. He looked really smart. I've known him for minutes. Anyway, I took her over there, and we talked about it. We talked about the nervous system and how sometimes a nerve gets stuck, and it decides that its job is to hurt all the time. I had this horrible accident, and I don't want anybody to forget about it. Even though no more damage is happening, and it happened a long time ago, they keep sending that message, And so eventually with this lady, what happened was her brain said, enough already, forget the arm. We don't need it, right? It just hurts all the time, and we're tired of it. So it turned it off. And so it's sort of like the computer freezing up on a screen, and you got to turn it off and turn it back on to get it to reboot, And so Sharik listened to her story, and he says, well, yeah, let's try it. And he got that tuner out and started working on her. And he did it for 20 minutes maybe. How long was it, Sharik? It wasn't very long. And by the time he was done with that first session, she had 75% function in that arm. It was incredible. And so she bought one, took it home, and he gave her a little protocol to do every day. And I followed up with her, and within a couple of weeks, she had 100% recovery, no more pain. The nerve had forgotten all about the terrible accident 10 years ago or whatever it was. And she had full function of the arm. And, this was years and years ago, and she still has full function of the arm, And I saw another case at another conference. They brought a lady up that had just had a seizure. And that was in Provo, wasn't it? And he did some work with her, and she said, wow, I feel way better. I mean, usually after a seizure, I would have to go home and sleep for the rest of the day and feel lousy. She says, I'm going to enjoy the rest of the conference, And so it's really remarkable, and I've seen several other cases like that where you just get this miraculous, holy cow, reboot of the nervous system. And then, of course, there's all the regular stuff, the headaches and jaw pain and neck pain and back pain and all the other stuff. But there's also some remarkable emotional and stress relief things you can do, because it's all tied together. Our brain and our endocrine system and our emotions. You think about it. When you get really frightened, what happens? Your heart starts beating faster, right? You feel sick to the stomach, right? All these things happen to your body because of your emotional things. And some of that can be long-term trouble, And so this tuner can also be useful for, reprogramming some of that stuff. So tell us a little about that, Sharik.
Well, and I think you and I have had this conversation several times, but we ought to share it a little bit more. You have done a great job of sharing about all kinds of amazing herbs and plants, medicinal plants that can help people. But when we're in that state of stress or trauma mode, as we might call it, our body has a hard time absorbing all of the best nutrients. Because when the body goes into that stress state and adrenaline is flowing, so is cortisol. It's its buddy. Yep. And cortisol's very first job in the whole stress response is to paralyze the digestive system. It does that because it does not want you to be digesting your last meal and trying to outrun the lion. Exactly. Cortisol's job is to tell you, get rid of the contents of the stomach, get rid of everything out of the bowel, and let's just get on with trying to survive. But
you can run faster if you pee your pants.
Yeah. But that creates quite a problem, doesn't it, in healing, because your body can't absorb the good nutrients when it just had a toxic bomb go through the gut. And that's part of the difficulty with so much of us in that chronic stress state, is the system won't digest and it won't pull in the best nutrients that we need. And so one of the things that is really important for us in this process is to teach the nervous system how to get back into a calm state, to where it can start having a proper flow in the intestinal system. It can start pulling out the nutrients that it needs, and balancing out that system is super important. So that's one of the primary first jobs that the tuner does. In fact, it doesn't even care about your chronic pain. It doesn't care at all about your headache. Its goal is to just get you into a balanced state where everything's working again. And it's just nice that a lot of the chronic pain just kind of backs off and goes away.
Yeah. And isn't that the truth? It's the same thing with herbs and nutrition and everything else we do. If you give the body what it needs, it'll fix itself. You know, that's what acupuncture does. You get the chi moving around and the body will sort things out. You know, and now you don't have a headache and you don't have a, indigestion or whatever it is. It's really important. And the tuner really does do that. And, it has some other advantages, and we have ways to cheat with that digestive system in the herbs, so you can use tinctures topically. They'll sort right into your blood. But a lot of the herbs that are calming and relaxing and stuff, they're also calming. So now you're tired and sleepy, and you can't do that while you're driving to work and stuff. Or at work. And so the tuner does the same thing without the chemistry. It's a vibrational thing. And so there are some advantages to that. And of course you can combine them, and that's even better. You can do some muscle relaxant antispasmodic herbs, like our No More Spasms formula, or the Rest Easy Nervine calming with the valerian and chamomile and stuff. But the vibration itself, doesn't need any chemical buddies to do its job. It's really effective. And so if you can't take herbs, you can use this tool. And that's why I love it. Because sometimes I have clients that can't take herbs because they're on pharmaceuticals that don't like the herbs, or they're allergic to the one that I love, And so it's really great. We had a situation here a month ago. Sharik saved me because I had a nice man puddling around in my brain for about 9 hours, and I got a new part. Did you see that? See that? They included that at no extra charge. Yeah, it was fun. So now I'm handsomer than ever. But anyway, I had brain surgery, and I was on a medication so that I wouldn't have a seizure after the brain surgery, because sometimes you do, and they don't like that. They don't like you to jangle your brain right after a surgery. And so they gave me this, even though I'd never had a seizure, they wanted me on this for a while. And because it's a pharmaceutical that shuts everything down and calms everything down, it shut my guts down, right? And so nothing was moving. And I couldn't take, and I've got a million herbs that'll fix that. But I couldn't take them because they were, strictly contraindicated with that particular drug. And so I called Sharik. Actually, my daughter called Sharik and said, "Hey, what do we do with my dad?" And he said, "Oh, take the tuner and put it on his belly button and run it through these couple of cycles." It took 5 minutes, and I was completely resolved. I never had any more trouble. It rebooted the system. It counteracted the physical results of that pharmaceutical. And it was amazing. It just woke him up, and put me into a vagus dominant digestive mode, right? Which is a fancy medical way of saying makes you poop, right? So anyway, it was amazing.
Needed to do.
Yeah.
So
Anyway,
so many people might question, what exactly did we do? And one of the questions that I get an awful lot, Dr. Jones, is, essentially this thing's a lot like an electric toothbrush on steroids, of course, but it uses, much the same concept. It's a handheld device and it vibrates, right? What is it that we did that helped your stomach? Because an electric toothbrush would not have helped your digestive system.
right.
So what I had you do was turn the device on. I had you push the red mode, which is a fancy algorithm. Algorithm's just another name for a pattern. It's a pattern. And I had her run that red mode or red pattern on your right at the belly button. Why did we choose the belly button? I figured that that's the last place that you had an attachment to your mom. So it must be kind of significant. It's also the last place that your vagus nerve had an entrance with, had its entrance into the world, I guess. So a lot of nutrients and things have gone through that system. So we put it at the belly button. We ran it on this red mode, which is actually an activation mode. Can't get that out of your electric toothbrush. But this activation mode essentially shook up everything in there, saying, wake up, hear me, listen to me. And as soon as that mode was finished, we had her put it on my green mode, which is another pattern that is simply designed to say, let's go for a quick walk and watch the waves come in from the ocean. And it's just a walk down the beach, watching that wave come in, wave after wave after wave. And the green mode is designed to get things back into harmonious balance. And that was all we did. That took about you're right, about 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, it was amazing. And I'll tell you something else is that the belly button is right on the conception vessel, which is one of the most important meridians in the acupuncture system. It's a governing vessel. And so, all kinds of important stuff happens based on how happy that meridian is. And so, how did it work? I don't know. Did it move the chi? Did it jangle the nerves? I don't know. I've got a brother. Yeah, we don't care. But I've used it on acupuncture points with remarkable results. It likes that. And they don't care if it's a needle or if it's vibration. It all works. I've got a brother who's a brain surgeon, brilliant guy. And he's a very, esoteric, prove it or jump in a lake kind of guy, which is how you become a brain surgeon. Otherwise, you end up being an herbalist. And anyway, he studied acupuncture. He went to school and learned acupuncture and started doing it. And so I had to kind of rib him a little bit, because I was always the alternative guy and, he's the science guy. I mean, I'm a science guy too, but he's serious about it. And anyway, I said, so Mark, how does that acupuncture work? Right? And he says, well, I don't know if it's chi or endorphins or little green goblins, but I can measure that it works. So it's the same thing with the tuner. We've seen the research and they can measure that it works. And maybe someday some guy will come along and say, yeah, it's releasing endorphins or it's moving chi or it's, we don't know, but we can measure that it's working. And anecdotally, as a practitioner, man, I've seen it work. And it's been really remarkable. We've had great success with it, with a lot of stuff.
Tested on some animals.
Yep. And I'll tell you, one thing I did want to discuss with you, Sharik, the tuner comes in this beautiful box, and they give you a great little book that tells you some basic principles, and they give you a strap so you can put it on your leg and weird things. And then the tuner's in here. And the only concern I have is that it has these little handles on the bag, and that has caused many tuners to leave my home in the hands of my adult children, and I never see them again. And I bet we've bought 10 of these things, because every kid that comes along and has a headache or a sore neck or whatever the heck, we say, well, try this tuner, and then we never see it again. So we don't. So you might want to. Yeah. You probably did that on purpose as a marketing stunt.
We sell more tuners that way, but it's mostly to our clients who have lost them.
Yeah, there you go. In fact, I've had 2 emails this week of students of mine that bought one a week ago when I wrote that blog article, and their kid took it already. So anyway, if that's not a testimonial, I don't know what is.
It's pretty nice to have a machine that is so very helpful. And I know you've been over here to Logan. You've been here to my home. Yep. It's pretty neat that you've been within a few feet of the plant that makes these. Now, it's not a green plant. Well, it's a green plant. They use a lot of solar energy to run it, but
the harvesting's tricky.
But the company that makes these for us is right here in northern Utah, and it's so good to have their assistance. I was over at the factory today and going over some things with their engineering and manufacturing people, and they're just delightful to work with.
Well, that's great that you're making them stateside. You were started out over in China.
We were. We made them in China for way too long.
This is working better. Yeah.
They looked really nice. They sounded really nice, but they broke way too much. So I brought them over here and said, "Hey, make this thing so it doesn't break so much." And they've done a good job.
And we've had several of the new ones. I don't know if you can see that. I want to show you something else that's on this new one that's cool. And that is the blades, the wings. So it can travel through space and cure those migraines on spaceships. But also, you can use this for myofascial pain and stuff. And you can actually do a sort of scraping thing. In China, they've been doing that for about 5,000 years. And they call it gua sha. And they use a seashell. But if they'd had one of these, they'd have liked it better. Yeah, their shoes wouldn't have gotten wet when they were finding it. And it vibrates, which makes it even better. But very cool. Tell us a little about that myofascial stuff.
I'll tell you, one of my favorite things about using those wings is, and I mean, this type of thing is used in professional offices all over the U.S. too. We call it instrument-assisted soft tissue mobilization. We can't use simple little two-syllable words like gua sha. But
or they wouldn't be able to charge you for physical therapy school.
Exactly. But these little wings, they are just an amazing thing, because when you turn on the vibration of our device and scrape the area on the skin, all of a sudden the brain has a much better connection to that area. Right. And so we use it for conditions like peripheral neuropathy, where the brain has had a disconnect to a part of the body. And it could be 20 years of that peripheral neuropathy. Well, you take the device and turn it on high and start scraping at the toes or scraping at the fingers. And just like that woman that we worked with all those years ago in Idaho, we wake up the brain's connections to that area. But now we do it in 3 minutes instead of 20 minutes. That little scraping process is beautiful. So people that have peripheral neuropathy, restless leg syndrome, plantar fasciitis, these wings are a game changer for those chronic pain conditions.
Yep. Yep. It wakes the brain up and reminds it that it had a job to do down there. And it really is amazing.
You know, it's I try and explain it to people like this because everybody gets it if I explain it this way. If you've ever watched the movie Princess Bride, you know that an area is not completely dead. It's just mostly dead. And if that means it's, you know, it still has a chance that we can wake it back up. And that's all we do. We've done that. We've done that with individuals that have had spinal cord injuries. And they have been 8 or 9 or 10 months or 3 years without any ability to move a part of the leg. And we can start using that scraping process and waking up those nerve endings. We had a tremendous experience in Idaho Falls a few months ago at a therapy clinic my friend owns up there. She called me up and said, would you come and work with this individual that has a spinal cord injury? She has a little bit of function in her left leg, but the right leg is dead from the hip down. I said, well, sure, let's come and work with it. She has gotten absolutely no movement in the toes and the ankle, knee, hip for 9 months. And we started that process of scraping at every single toe, in between the toes, on the top of the foot, on the bottom of the foot. Immediately, within a minute, she started saying, I feel pain. And, pain is a great way to help the brain start sensing something again. We don't like pain, but if pain is temporary, it's acceptable. And so
it's a great alarm clock to get the brain's attention.
It's exactly right. So her brain started sensing that area as we were scraping. Within 5 minutes, she started being able to wiggle her toes. And she could move her ankle just a little bit. Well, here we are, 5 months later, and she is now walking with just a knee brace. She doesn't have to have the whole leg in the thing. She's starting to walk using a walker, doing all kinds of things that she never even thought she could be doing again at this point.
Yeah,
it's pretty neat. Those wings are amazing.
Yeah, the wings are cool.
They were pure inspiration. They were a message from somebody much smarter than me that said, put little wings into the thing. People will think it's funny. They may call it a flying squirrel, but I'll tell you, it's going to help people. And I had one of those cool experiences that told me it needed to have those wings in our new device.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. It's a great device, and it's a great upgrade. It was great before. My kids they stole a lot of those old ones too. But yeah, it's a great device. Really remarkable. And, you've done amazing things. It's just, I tell my students this all the time. You got to listen to the voice. You'll have inspiration and you'll have, ideas and things that, don't feel like they came from your brain, and you need to learn to follow that and listen to that. And you can have some pretty remarkable experiences. And I think this tuner is very much a product of that from the very beginning, because I've heard the early stories about how you woke up in the middle of the night telling your wife you needed an electric toothbrush so you could tweak it. So, yeah.
That was true. And she kind of woke up and said, that's crazy. And went back to sleep.
Yeah, that's what my wife said when I started herb school. So, yeah. Well, great. Well, why don't is there anything else you want to say? Otherwise, we can get to some of these questions.
I don't see any questions, so you'll have to cue me what people might be
I'll
interested
read them to
in.
you. Evan, where's my buttons? Oh, by the way, if you buy a tuner, you also get this cool Rezzimax pillow, which is wonderful for, you put it right here when you're watching one of Doc Jones's YouTube videos. And if you fall asleep, you don't wake up with a crick in your neck, so it's not just treatment. It's also about prevention of pain. So anyway, the pillow's great.
So you got to know, though, that those beautiful little cases that have those really nice little handles and that strap that puts it on your leg or arm and that cool little pillow, these are all made by my neighbor. And sometimes when she gets a little bit behind, I go over with my wife and we help stuff those pillows. So it's a community event, but we love the feedback we get from people all over the world that love those little tools.
So they're professionally stuffed pillows by a trained therapist.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like my compost is made by a professional. All right.
Yes.
Evan, show me how to make this screen go up. That's why we have Evan here. He's smart. He knows stuff. How do I make the scrolly thing happen? Oh, I'm pushing up, you up and down. Okay. All right. All right, so let's read these. So Cheryl says, the webinar is very timely for me, and thanks for scheduling it, Doc. And thank you, Sharik, for creating such an effective tool. So there you go. You're welcome. Anita says, Anita Clayton, who practically raised me in New Jersey. She was one of the nice ladies at church that kept me out of trouble. She had a great kid, and he was a buddy of mine. Anyway, Anita says, Patrick, look forward to see you again. I tried one of these gadgets at a friend's house, and I liked it. Looking forward to learning how it works. Yeah, they're amazing. Bonnie says, I'm learning to use this wonderful tool. Thank you. The next nice lady's laughing about the vagus nerve with an E. All right. James says the audio is not good. I'm sorry about that. And some delay. Yeah, we're just figuring this out. We never did it with two people before. All right. Okay, so Mama White Tiger, speaking of the sympathetic fight or flight, right? She's would it work with helping to balance the autonomic nervous system as well? Would it help balance the system? Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about. Any thoughts on that, Sharik?
No, it's absolutely its job. And it is she's right. It's a balancing act. And if you think of it as the fight or flight mode being in full high demand, the vagus and the parasympathetic system can't work. But if we get that parasympathetic system up, the fight or flight or the stress mode goes down. They cannot be on the same plane.
Right.
We have to, one is going to override the other. And so we need the vagus system and that parasympathetic system to override the other system for at least 8 to 10 hours a day so we can get a good night's sleep and recover from all the rest of the stresses. But you don't want to sleep all day long too. So you don't want that system being the ruler. You want it to work in conjunction, and you want them to be friends. But research on people who've had car accidents and head injuries, concussions, whiplash, or been in the Army or been through trauma, those people have that system turned on, and sometimes it's been turned on high for years. They don't know how to get it turned back down. Those people especially benefit by having something that teaches their system to start behaving again, to get back into balance.
Yep. You got to reboot the electronics. Okay. Karen says, what conditions will this help? And we've talked about a lot of them, but headaches, migraines, TMJ, stress, anxiety, back pain, loss of feeling or function, peripheral neuropathy, gut troubles, stuff in your body. Anything we're missing?
The FDA doesn't allow us to make any claims.
Right.
But
that's right.
If you get the system into balance, everything improves. Everything. Yeah. And I can't think of a single condition that cannot benefit from this fine balancing of the central nervous system. Every condition that I've ever seen, including seizures, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, you can balance out the nervous system and you take away the effects of those diseases.
Yep. And I'll tell you, just an example of sort of the principle. We were doing acupuncture on a lady that had a bad hip. And she came in, and it was, probably her second or third visit. And we said, so how's your hip? And she said, oh, my hip's a lot better. It's not 100%, but it's a lot better. But I'm not incontinent anymore. And, I didn't know she was incontinent. But she'd been wearing Depends for 20 years, because she had bladder incontinence. And by getting the chi running through her hip like it was supposed to, fixed her bladder, and I looked in my old dusty acupuncture books, and sure enough, some of the points I was working on for her hip, the old Chinese guys also used for bladder stuff, but it's the same principle. If you give the body what it needs and it sorts everything out, all the connections and interactions and relationships between the nervous system and the tissues and the endocrine system, the body fixes itself. And it fixes all kinds of other stuff that, didn't have anything to do with your sore hip. And so I found the tuner to have similar properties. They're really a great tool.
Thank you.
All right. Lou says, will it help other pain in the body? I have fibromyalgia and degenerative disc disorder.
So, the fibromyalgia, one of the first things that it helps with for that condition is helping normalize sleep patterns. We know that sleep is a serious problem for those who suffer from fibromyalgia. But we also know, if you look back in a person's history, they have some form of serious accident or illness that they've been through sometime in the past, or they've been through a traumatic experience. Those are the kinds of things that turn on that fight or flight mode for way too long, and then they develop into that chronic pain pattern. And one of the first things the tuner will do with some daily, consistent, gentle use is help normalize those sleep patterns. Will it make everybody sleep 9 hours? No, or I would sleep 9 hours. But it helps me get great sleep out of the time that I can be asleep, and great time out of the time that I can be awake, so that my brain will function all day. And that's its job, is to help regulate energy. We have individuals that have not just fibromyalgia, but conditions like chronic fatigue syndrome that use the tuner to help them regulate their energy. Or they may have multiple sclerosis, and they'll use it to help them balance out energy so that they are not always crashing. And if they're taking a lot of the medications, they're oftentimes up, but then they just crash down really hard. And our device helps them manage energy without having those big crashes.
Yep. Yeah, and I'll tell you, that fight or flight sympathetic system is a disaster for our immune system. I mean, it does all kinds of horrible things. So yeah, getting all that balanced and happy is good. I'll tell you something else, Lou, that would be important to look at and helpful probably would be looking at the leaky gut protocol on homegrownherbalist.net, because a lot of times fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue, a lot of those are autoimmune conditions. And we just did a webinar on that last week, but have a look at that. There's an article, go to the blog articles on homegrownherbalist.net, and do a search for leaky gut. You'll find an article that talks about it, but that can help a lot too. Okay. Marie says, in the 60-day guarantee, is it still valid if they bought it from Doc Jones? Even though he has a really handsome new part in his hair, is it still valid to get that warranty?
Absolutely. We want everybody to have that absolute ironclad. You've got to try that thing for 60 days. If it's not helping you, we don't want you to have it. These are expensive devices. They're expensive to make, but if it's not helping you, we buy it back. Do you know how many we've bought back over the last 3 years? Since we started making this Tuner Pro, we have less than 1% that ever comes back, and we're getting close to 3,000 of them out in the world.
Yeah. See, and what does that tell you? You know, that's amazing. The other thing is that it'll fix 10 other things. Even if it didn't fix one thing. Or their children will steal it. So,
you know, sometimes when they take it out the door, your children will benefit. But the interesting thing is some people get it for chronic headaches. And they say, you know, my headaches have only dropped 50%, but this feels better and this feels better and this feels better. And I didn't really realize I had something that could help those. And so I feel great. I'm happy with it.
Yep. All right. Marie also asks if it would help trigeminal neuralgia. I would think absolutely.
Yes, and that's, goodness, that's a great thing to talk about for just a minute if we could. There are conditions like trigeminal neuralgia that we're very successful with, but you have to be extremely careful with it. If you have complex regional pain syndrome or trigeminal neuralgia or some of the other real severe neuralgias, your brain has actually kind of flipped a switch and it's gone into complete all-out attack mode. That's the best way I can describe it. The brain says, if anything comes at that area that's super sensitive, I am going to throw everything I can at it because I've decided that everything that comes at that area is an attack. Same thing with that complex regional pain syndrome, an arm or a leg or part of the body that's decided everything that touches it is part of the enemy. With conditions like that, if you will use other areas of the body that don't hurt very much as a way to get our resonant forms in there, they will soon start playing interference with the pain signals that you're having in the area that's so painful. So we don't go right to that area and may not even go there for weeks or months if it's a severe case, but we'll treat all kinds of other parts of the body until the body starts turning down the signal saying, okay, I've decided this thing is not going to try and kill me. In fact, I kind of like how it makes me feel. Once the brain is accepting of it, you can start using it on those areas that are so very painful. And we have seen quite a few people with these chronic, most painful conditions known to man decrease the flames, decrease the fires, and start being able to get off of heavy medications as their body starts to accept that area again and starts to rain down the pain.
Yeah, that's great. And I'll tell you something else that's really wonderful about Sharik is that he's here to help you. You know, he does Zoom training meetings and he does YouTube videos and he has things on his websites. And if none of that helps, you know, shoot him an email and he'll help you with that. He's amazing. He has the same problem that I have, which is that we get a bazillion emails every day. And instead of making money, we answer emails. But we love you and we want to help you. That's the whole point. So that's what we do. And all right. So Joyce says, what's the best formula to treat chronic painful UTIs? I've got some herb things. We have one called kidney and bladder UTI, which of course stands for urinary tract urinary tonic intervention, because we don't make any claims. But there's apparently there's other things that UTI can stand for. But anyway, that's a good formula. Take that with the immunity support. But have you had anything that way with the tuner, Sharik?
Yeah, actually, recently we've been helping some people with conditions that they call a neurogenic bladder condition. And all that is a fancy way of saying that the nerve endings in that area are not happy. And if you understand that the vagus nerve, that's some of the bottom reaches that it goes to when it goes down from the brain stem and up into all the important structures here, but it goes all the way down to your bladder and all the way down to those important structures. And you can use the tuner just like we did on the belly button technique. You can do that exact technique just about 3 inches lower on the bladder and get those to start balancing better. I had a great discussion with a physical therapist today that came down from Montana. And he said, I've been working on this with people that have bladder issues, and it's helpful. It's extremely helpful. But we've been helping a lot of people with those neurogenic or painful bladder conditions by placing the device near it. And I don't know that we even talked about one of the best ways that we engage that vagus nerve. One of the oldest tricks in the book, and I didn't invent it, but somebody smarter than me did. If you just simply hum to the device when you've got it placed down at the bladder or at the belly button or other places, your hummer is a direct branch of that same vagus nerve. So you're slowing down your breathing, slowing down your heart rate, enhancing the strength of the vagus nerve while it's listening to this song coming up from the tuner that helps the brain connect with the bladder better. And everything can start working better. The tuner can't deal with infection stuff. It can't deal with the chronic infection, but it can sure help the vagus nerve function better, and the vagus nerve functioning better helps fight infection. Exactly. And it does a lot with those great herbs and nutrients that you can put into the system. So it's symbiotic. It works together.
Yeah. Well, and if we can turn off the sympathetic system, which is suppressing your immune system, you're not going to have as many bladder infections. It doesn't have to directly kill the bacteria. It just has to get your body what it needs so it can do its job. Yeah. I had a lady just yesterday, or maybe it was today. I've done a lot of consults this week. I don't know. Anyway, I was on the phone with this nice lady, and she said that she has to urinate all the time. And the first thing I thought was, we need to get a tuner on that belly and settle that bladder down, because there's nothing wrong with it. She doesn't have infections or anything. It's just irritated and confused and busy, and that needs to relax. So, all right. Cheryl says, I purchased one of your units and would like to know what frequencies it has and how to use the different modes. Do you leave them in one place as it goes through all the frequencies?
Great question. At first, I thought when you said it was Cheryl that maybe my wife had typed in and was trying to get in on the action and ask me a question, but she would have asked a question more like, "When are you going to finish up and come up and have dinner?" But no. So Cheryl, the question that you asked is, what is the tuner really doing? And I've posted a couple of videos recently on Instagram and I think on Facebook, maybe even on YouTube, that shows, because people get a little bit, they don't quite understand how things are measured. So our device, the actual cycles per second that the little hummer is spinning, ranges from about 44 cycles per second up to about 106 cycles per second. But what that creates on the harmonic code is ranging from 0 hertz up to over 1,000 hertz. It's creating an energy, if you will. I've got pictures of it. I wish I could pop it up here on the screen to show you, but we stuck it into a cool machine that could actually measure the energy that's created. And we see real hot, white hot lines between this 44 and 106 hertz, but we also see these energy ripples and waves that go out in each direction down to 0 and all the way up over 1,000 hertz. It's essentially just creating rippling effects that allow the nervous system to start moving better. So it hits every frequency in the range of healing. It's actually based on the purr of a cat. It actually came from some of the conversations that Dr. Jones and I had. Do you remember that conversation? I asked you the difference between healing of dogs and cats. And you sat there and you thought, said, well, let me put it this way. In the last 23 years that I've been practicing, now I can't do it quite the way that you expressed that, but you said, in the last 23 years that I've been practicing, I've treated over 1,000 dogs for cancer. And then during that same time, I've treated maybe 5 cats for cancers. And you know, we had this really neat little conversation about the differences in healing. Well, those cats have a purr mechanism, and that purring mechanism actually is helpful in healing to other animals as well. Which is why, you know, a cat, if it's in the family and it senses somebody is sick, it'll often go and sit near that person, even if it doesn't like that person. It'll go and sit near them while they're sick, and it'll just purr and purr and purr, because it has this innate sense that it needs to help things heal. And that purring mechanism, it's those poor dogs, they don't have that. And that's why they seem to have a lot more cancers and other illnesses that they deal with. But anyway, I don't like, you know, the fur balls and things that cats get, and I don't like changing kitty litter, but that purr that they create helps speed up bone healing, and it speeds up stem cell activity, and it calms people down. And we've known that for years, but we just took that range of energy and put it into an electronic device and changed those energy fields. The device has 10 preset levels. So it goes from 44 cycles per second up to 106 cycles per second. But and then it has 4 algorithms, and each of those 4 algorithms takes those 10 levels and chops each level into about 300 energy points between each level. So those energy points, we feed back through the system in these loops. So that's what we actually did when we got your belly and that digestive system working again, is we fed it these about 3,000 energy levels every couple of minutes so that it started being able to move again. It was just these waves of energy that helped it start connecting. And as you hum to it, it helps it tie in to the vagus nerve. So it's literally a vagus nerve entrainment or tuning device.
Yeah. And, you know, I'll tell you one more thing about the vibration. And by the way, this is the best cat you could ever own. You can pet them. They don't need a litter box. You don't have to feed them. They don't make you sneeze. So maybe the next one should have wings and a tail. Anyway, I'll tell you, the vibration thing's interesting. First of all, when you hum, one of the other things Sharik used to always say is to bite your tongue gently, you know, put your tongue between your teeth. Because what does that do? Well, that tells your body, and in fact, I think it's your tongue telling your body, look, relax. I got teeth on both sides. Everybody relax. So it puts you into that parasympathetic phase. But the humming is interesting. And we were at a conference, I think this one was in Salt Lake, but he was working on a lady and he had her humming. And when I do acupuncture with tuning forks, I use different frequencies. And one of the frequencies is very grounding and peaceful and just calming, It's just north of C sharp. Well, between C and C sharp. Anyway, it's a tone that whales make and wolves make and Tibetan monks make when they're chanting. It's sort of the home frequency of this planet. And he's working on this lady with her tuner and having her hum. And I says, I just got to check. And I grabbed my tuning fork and whacked it, and she was right on pitch. I mean, she was humming exactly that tone. And so, everything that's true connects with everything else that's true, and that's one of the remarkable things about the tuner is that it does so many things, in a different way mechanically, but that I was doing with the harmonic acupuncture stuff. It's all truth, and so it's been really cool to get that sort of validation. And anyway, it's interesting. All right. B Rose, who's my son-in-law, says, I'd love it if either of you could comment on the role of the primary cilium in this vibration therapy, if you get a chance. You have any opinions on that, Sharik?
I'm not sure what it's referring to, so this must be in your ball court.
He's got a PhD in physiology. The primary cilium, of course, is the cilium that's more important than the secondary one. So that's why it helps with this. We have no idea, Brandon. Like my brother, the brain surgeon, said, we don't know how it works, but we can measure that it works. So, all right, next question. Lou says, that helps me understand why my stomach's upset. And I ended up with colitis after 30 years of pain. Yeah, he's the one that has the fibromyalgia because everything shuts down.
That's a constant dump of cortisol.
Yeah. Fight or flight. You get tired of it and your body wears out. Cheryl says, how do you know what frequency to use? What mode, right, to use?
I love that question. And the reality is that all of them are helpful. All of them are helpful. But there are going to be certain ones that you will say, that one speaks to me. And all you have to do is feel the device and run up and down the frequencies, or try, each algorithm out. And your brain, your intuition is going to tell you that one feels good. And sometimes that's going to change. We have some individuals that have POTS, or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, and the system is really upside down. And we have to actually start them maybe at the lowest of all lowest levels, just to get their nervous system to start handling things. And if we take them up too strong, they're going to say, oh, I'm starting to feel more sick. And you take them down to the lowest level and they say, oh, I can breathe. That's how you know which level to use, is which one feels the best to you. Because your brain, your body, your nervous system, they're going to tell you if you just listen to them. That's a great question.
And there are some basic guidelines in the little book that sort of talk about that. But listen to your body. Your body she'll tell you what to do. And or send Sharik an email and say, my guts don't work.
Absolutely. I've helped people face probably some of the worst conditions known to man with the device, and we've found ways to be successful with it. And then if it doesn't work for you, it's not going to hurt anything, but we're happy to buy them back. It's just not a problem.
Yep. Well, very good. So, and that's the last question.
Do
you have any other thoughts, Sharik?
Let's see. I think you're offering a discount on the tuner, and that's a wonderful thing. There are, there are so many things that that this machine was designed to do. It wasn't really designed by me. I'm just taking the information that I downloaded, and I've been trying to get engineers to understand how to put it together. But somebody smarter designed it, and I'm just grateful for how it helps people. But probably one of the funnest things to see is how it helps people find peace. The letters that I love receiving the most are ones that say, I really didn't expect this, but I was using it and I found myself crying. And 15 minutes later, I'm self-checking and analyzing, and I found that I feel a whole lot better about certain events that happened in my life. And I didn't expect that to happen. Yeah. And I just say a little prayer and say thank you, because I know that that was important for that individual. And I've felt that for me. I've seen that in my own family. And it just helps those emotional centers balance, which really are what helps a person long term to do a lot better. If it's only pain relief, I mean, I'm not all that excited just about pain relief, but I want a person, after using it for a year, to be able to say, I'm a better person. I feel better about the world. I'm happier with my family. And I don't know exactly how it does that, but somehow in balancing out the nervous system, people feel better about everything around them.
Yep. It's a remarkable tool. The Rezzimax Tuner Pro. And we have them on the website, and Sharik's got them on his website. And we are honored to be able to have it. It's a great tool. It can do a lot of things in situations where herbs aren't appropriate or allowed. And it's just really remarkable for helping the body transition, and the brain, and then, the endocrine system and everything else, transition into a parasympathetic, vagus dominant, everything's going to be okay mode, and it gives the body what it needs to quit running away from the lion that may not even be there anymore, and go into that parasympathetic, healing, regenerative, restorative condition. And it's really amazing. Just can't say enough good about it. We've been really, really impressed. Like Sharik said, they've sold 3,000 of this new model, and they've had less than 1% of them come back. And so that's a testimony just in and of itself. So Sharik, we love and appreciate you. You're doing great work, and thanks to all of you for coming and participating. If your question didn't get answered, shoot me an email and we'll figure it out. I'm Dr. Patrick Jones from the Homegrown Herbalist School of Botanical Medicine, and thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Sharik, thanks a million.